I can do it. I cannot create a top 3 of Kobold Press books in 2023. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask and these are all of the books, all of the Kobold Press books that I talked about in 2023. Now, that doesn't mean they released in 2023, these are just books that I reviewed and or talked about in the year of 2023. And I set out this video to create a top 3, because I do that every year for Kobold Press. I create top 3s of books that I think are worth it for you, but the problem this year is that the quality of Kobold Press books is just skyrocketing. The quality has always been there, but there were always some books that I just found didn't really match some of the other quality of the Kobold Press books. But right now Kobold Press is in such a winning streak with books that I just decided to go over all of these books really quickly, talk about who they are for, because all of these books serve a completely different purpose. They are for different people, different GMs, different players, whatever. They serve a different purpose, and that's why I think they all have a right of existence, so to speak. Whenever I talk about one of these books and who they're for and why it exists, there will be a link to the video of me reviewing that book on my channel. You can just click that link and go to the right video, so consider this video a hub from where you go to different videos and find my videos that are actually go deeper in these books. So let's start with the top of the pile, Zobeck, the Clockwork City. If you do not know what Zobeck is, well, it is basically the starting city of the Midgard campaign setting. It is called the Clockwork City because most of the guards and a lot of creatures and a lot of like bridges use clockwork technology. There's clockwork creatures like Gearforge and Warforge type creatures, and this book goes deeper in that city. Now, this book for me came a little bit too late, meaning the Midgard World Book was out for a long time already, and the Midgard World Book has a lot of information for Zobeck. Then there are other books. There's a lot of information about Zobeck scattered across different books from Kobold Press. So as a avid Kobold Press collector who gets everything for free from Kobold Press, so I am naturally a collector, there isn't a lot of new information in this book in terms of it being a city guide. So the city guide part of this book came a little bit too late for me. Now, that said, there is new stuff in it. There's new politics in it, new locations in it. There's a lot of new stuff in it, but just percentage-wise, there was a lot of repeating itself and reusing artwork just to make a book that centers on Zobeck. That said, it also has 14 adventures ranging from 1st level to 11th level, perfect as standalone quests or placed in sequence as a campaign. So there's 14 adventures, quests in here that you can, that range somewhere between like a one-shot, and some might even like take you 2 or 3 sessions, and they're great. A lot of them are great. I reviewed them, click the link, whatever link that pops up right now. I reviewed this book, and there was a few really good, like there's one adventure in here called The Drinking Problem, which is really, really good. So if you're looking for a, yeah, just like a city dwelling adventure, or you want to do like kind of an urban campaign, or your characters are going to be in an urban setting for quite a while, picking this one up can be really worthwhile. You don't have to be in Zobeck to translate like some of the adventures to your city, but if your players are in and around Zobeck, some of these adventures are really well worthwhile playing. So for those people who might not have the Midgard World Book, or they just don't want to like flip through thousands of books to get like the most out of their Zobeck experience, this one centers around Zobeck very, very, very well. Next up, 2 books that kind of belong together. First off, Wastes of Chaos, and of course, Tales from the Wastes of Chaos. Basically, Wastes of Chaos is a book that helps you create your own Wastes of Chaos. So wastelands, chaos lands, whatever you want to call them, those open wild areas on your campaign setting, to fill that in with ruins, dungeons, secrets, monsters, tunnels, I don't know, bandit camps, I don't know, groups of people that live there and are crazy enough to live there, all of that stuff. If you want to fill in your wastelands or your chaos lands or your wildlands in your campaign setting, this one really helps you out. Now, one of the downsides of this book, I've pointed it out, in the back, it talks about where you could place your wastelands in the Midgard campaign setting, which is cool. Everything cool, but it's like 3 or 4, no, maybe a little bit more, like Midgard lore. This is a half page, 1, 2, another half page, so that's 2, 3.5 pages. They talk about how and where you can place wastelands in the Midgard campaign setting. Midgard campaign setting has like 2 or 3 areas that are very open and have little going on. Even from the Midgard world book, there's a lot of like for you as a game master to like you can fill that in for yourself, which I absolutely love and absolutely like. But in the back of this book, it just feels like Midgard itself kind of was an afterthought. Other than that, as a toolbox, this is a really good book. I just hate seeing Midgard as an afterthought because I love Midgard. That's the thing. Tales from the Wastes is basically an accompanying book that gives you, let me see, 15 new single session adventures suitable for levels 1 all the way up to 20. Playable separately or in sequence. So these are adventures that you can place in your wastelands or in the Midgard wastelands or whatever, chaos lands, and these adventures you can play. They say in the back of this book that they are one-shots. Some of these will take you a little bit longer than a session, I feel. I've not tested everything out. I can barely play enough D&D to stay sane, let alone test everything that I have. So Tales from the Waste has like 15 adventures in the wasteland. So if your characters are crossing an entire wasteland to get to like, I don't know, a hidden citadel in the ground or something like that, this is really good to pick up some adventures and fill in those wastelands with some pre-written adventures. So these 2 books, if you have wastelands to fill in your campaign setting, or you're playing the Midgard campaign setting and you want to take your players to the wastes, these are worth it. By the way, filling in your wastelands doesn't only mean filling it in with like traps and hazards and dungeons and tunnels and corridors or whatever. It also means filling them in with player characters that actually belong there. So these books also have races, also have feats and spells and stuff going on, and subclasses that make sense in the Wastes of Chaos. And the same thing goes for the Book of Ebon Tides and, of course, the Tales from the Shadows. Now, something happened to me yesterday that you will not believe. Well, I already posted it on socials, but it is freaking cool that I want to show it on television, on the YouTube. Mark Rattle, one of my favorite writers ever. This is the wrong one. This is the right one. Mark Rattle sent me a signed copy of Tales from the Shadows. Absolutely love that. I've been talking about one of his adventures, Shadows from the Dust Queen, Shadows of the Dust Queen, a lot on my channel, which is a standalone adventure you can buy from Kobold Press, and it is also featured in this book. So Mark Rattle was very happy with me talking about that adventure and praising it and doing all that stuff, that he just sent me this, and it says, Henrik. That's my real name, don't tell anybody. Thanks so much for all of the kind words about Shadows of the Dust Queen. Keep being awesome, Mark Rattle. Oh, have fun storming the castle. Smiley face. This is going into my personal collection. Well, everything is in my personal collection, but it's going to be in my personal collection. When my house is on fire, I will grab this. No, I will grab my kids and my wife, and then I will grab this. This is awesome. So yeah, what the Wastes of Chaos are for the Chaos Lands or the Wastelands or whatever, the Book of Ebon Tides is the same thing for the Shadow Realm. Now, the Shadow Realm is something special, something that Kobold Press puts a lot of thought and effort in across all of their books, and something that I underuse. So this is a book that I don't use that much. I don't use enough shadowy stuff in my games. For some reason, I as a game master just never reach out to that kind of stuff. But for the Shadow Realm, it's basically like a mirror realm to the real realm, where just everything is shadow and dark and grim, and time goes completely different, and the Shadow Fae live there. But it has like all kinds of dark and grim character options, new spells, it has new races, it talks about like the courts of the Shadow Fae, which is also an adventure from Kobold Press. It talks about all of the different courts, talks about some magic items that are from the Shadow Realms, and then there's Tales from the Shadow, which is actually also exactly the same as Tales from the Wastes, but then for the Shadow Realm, which are 14 new adventures, suitable for levels 1 all the way through 8, playable separately or in a sequence. And then there is, of course, Shadows of the Dusk Queen, the adventure that I can play with my eyes closed. It is a kind of like a remake of it. It's just they changed some things around, especially like with artwork and stuff. But in essence, it's still the same, and it still has the best period, dragon period, encounter period, ever period, written period. Let's say your players take a left turn where you expected them to take a right turn. You end the session and tell them all to go home, and then you take cities and towns and create a new city or a new town from scratch using the campaign builder Cities and Towns, which is an incredibly good book for those game masters who just need that extra push in the back towards creating their own city and town, because I think a lot of people have some really cool ideas and some really cool names for cities and general ideas or political systems or whatever, but this really helps you flesh it out. It has a bunch of cool stuff. It talks about like it has a city character sheet, it has guidance on all aspects of urban planning to trade goods, architecture, NPCs, rulers, guilds, cults, character options, and tables for creating random things. Now, this one has a bunch of cool tables, so you can like basically use this book to almost completely randomly generate your own city. Now, I did a video where I compared this book to Nordgame's Spectacular Settlements, where I compared it and kind of said for which Dungeon Master this book is and for which Dungeon Master the other book is. The Nordgame's book is really for those people who are looking forward to really randomly generate a city that actually makes sense. I tested it out on my channel and it works really good. Cities and Towns is more for people looking for that inspiration and also have a good idea of where they want to go with their city or their town. Prepared, the expanded collection of one-shot adventures. Well, Prepared is one of my early experiences with Kobold Press. When I just started my channel and Kobold Press started sending me stuff, the Prepared books, like the first Prepared book, was one of the first books that I've ever gotten from them, and I cannot thank them enough for that, and I will always remember that book fondly. What they did is they slapped the first 2 Prepared books together, 12 adventures originally published from Prepared 1, 12 adventures originally published in Prepared 2, and 6 brand freaking new adventures never before seen in print. A brand new adventure created specifically for this collection. Full color maps, fantastic scenarios. Prepared is just cool. Prepared is the kind of book that your players do something unexpected, or the first player of the session rings your doorbell and you completely forgot you had a session. You tell them your tummy aches a little bit, you go to the toilet and sit down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and there's bound to be a one-shot in here between the, 31 adventures? Yes, 31 adventures. There's bound to be one adventure in here that you can run. To make that even better, there is a few adventures. There is the Impregnable Fortress of Dib, which is just the perfect starting adventure for any new group. If it's a group of new players that never played D&D before, or a group of players that played D&D before, but it's just new as a group. And there's 2 adventures that actually follow up and have Dib as the main character of that adventure, the main villain of that adventure. One of them is this one where he builds a big-ass doom, wagon of doom type tank full of kobolds, and they just do crazy stuff. I reviewed this book. It is great. It is great if you're looking for one-shots. It's great to put on your toilets and then just pick up when you're sitting on the toilet, or when you didn't expect, or when somebody on the internet is like, hey, want to play a session? You want to run a session? And you're like, yeah, just give me 15 minutes. I'll run a session for you. Prepared is absolutely stellar for that kind of stuff. Tome of Beasts 1, the remake of the original Tome of Beasts by Kobold Press. And by remake, I mean they took out some monsters, they put in some new monsters, they balanced out the challenge rating of the existing monsters, well, most of them. They changed around some artwork and they slapped a new cover on it, and now you have the updated 2023 version of Tome of Beasts, called the Tome of Beasts 1. This is a bit of a difficult one. It is a great book. It is a great monster book. It's thick. It's full of insane Kobold Press monsters with like artwork from like some Brian Sheeman and some of the insane people who work at Kobold Press. It is a really good bestiary, but it's not for everybody. I'd say if you already have the original Tome of Beasts, for me personally, I don't see any use of spending your money on this one, because the original Tome of Beasts is a great bestiary. Yes, the challenge ratings are off, but if you have some experience playing 5th edition by now, most people should be able to kind of see that the challenge ratings are a little bit too low and just kind of like adjust from there. That said, if you do not own the first Tome of Beasts by Kobold Press, I'd say buy this one instead of the original one. Also, if you're a hardcore Kobold Press fan, by all means, buy this one. I think this one is great. The cover is really cool. It is a great bestiary, but it serves a purpose only to an X amount of people, basically. There's some cool new creatures in here, though. And then, last but certainly not least, and as you know from my latest video, well, the video before my latest video, I really like this one. I genuinely think this is the best Kobold Press has put out in 2023, and maybe even the best Kobold Press has ever put out. Deep Magic Volume 1 and Volume 2, which are 2 books, I know, but they belong together in one big sleeve, is amazing. The value for your money is insane. If you are a Magic user in 5th edition and your Game Master is okay with you using third-party stuff, holy this one is for you. It has 2 new classes, entirely new classes, spellcasting classes. It has many new spells, magic items, schools of magic, subclasses for like all of the magic users that are out there already. It is just, there's creatures in here, there's so much stuff in here. I can even barely scratch the surface with this video, and even the video where I kind of reviewed this book barely scratches the surface. So Deep Magic is a must buy for anybody who likes to play a spellcaster at the table, and it is for your money maybe the best buy you can ever do for 5th edition. Now, at a first glance, you might think it's the same as with the Tome of Beasts 1, where if you already own the original Deep Magic, that it is not worth getting the Deep Magic Volume 1, because you already have like a Deep Magic, and this is just a revised edition. But I would say, no, for the love of God, buy this one. The Deep Magic Volume 1 and Volume 2 is just better by all means, and it's just towers, neck, shoulders, belly button, groin area, and knees above the original Deep Magic. And that was my top 3 of Kobold Press books of 2023. All of these are in my top 3. My top 3 is filled with many, many books. Until next video, bye-bye.